Ain't no party like a Boulder Hill party because the Boulder Hill party just stopped. The city's health department has grounded 18 to 22-year-olds to slow the spread of COVID. But how will the ban on gatherings be enforced? Another driver who could have avoided a protest crowd doesn't. Why are the roads not blocked?
I felt bad that I couldn't get the moose away quicker, but I tell you what, that thing was coming at something, and I didn't have a clean exit out of there.
The next Farmers Insurance commercial was shot in Boulder County, and a truth test somewhat dedicated to John Hughes. Planes, no trains, and automobiles. Next. Students at CU Boulder are scrambling to find fake IDs that say they're 23. Boulder County Public Health issued a very specific public health order today for 18 to 22-year-olds. The order is that they cannot gather in any groups with other 18 to 22-year-olds. Also, people living in 36 specific properties in the city have to stay home except for essential things like going to the grocery store. So about that whole no gathering in groups thing, that's gotta be policed somehow, right? We're just gonna start checking IDs of anyone who looks old enough to pretend to be old enough to drink? We asked CU and we were told there will be no checkpoints on campus, but any groups walking around will likely be stopped, educated on the public health order, or perhaps cited. Boulder police say they'll follow legal protocols before stopping someone or someones to ask for ID. Anyone cited could go to jail for 90 days and pay up to a $1,000 fine. CU students cited will face potential school discipline. I was asked on Twitter, does this also apply to the CU football team, which still is not playing? It applies to all CU sports teams because training or practicing would be a violation because it would be in a group, which is unfortunate timing for the football team because the Pac-12 just announced a fall football season after all, which will start in November. It's the first time I've anchored Next when the statewide COVID-19 numbers are headed the wrong direction. 167 people are hospitalized in the state with COVID-19. Our 7-day average is now more than 152 after hovering around the 135 to 140 range for most of the month. Nearly 3.8% of COVID-19 tests in the state came back positive yesterday. Our 7-day average is creeping up, now at 3.6%, up almost an entire percentage point from last week. On the day one driver is told they won't face any charges for driving through a protest crowd, another driver drives through a protest crowd. The latest car versus protesters happened in front of the state capitol last night. The protest was the result of the grand jury decision in the Breonna Taylor case in Kentucky. Denver police say they believe the driver turned into the protest by accident. The driver hit one protester. Police say the driver was frightened and was looking for a way to escape the crowd. We wanted to know how the driver was even able to get that close to the protest in the first place, because shouldn't the road have been blocked?
So it is a challenge, you know, being able to block traffic, you know, ahead of them and behind them so that people don't drive up on them or turn into the direction that they're going. We do our best to block traffic so that traffic doesn't drive into that situation, certainly protecting them from some sort of careless situation, but also, you know, preventing cars from being surrounded or something like that.
Police stopped the driver but released him soon after, making sure he wasn't drunk. They're investigating whether or not that driver should face charges. The person who was hit was not seriously injured. It's a real-life legal lesson happening in the Boulder Valley School District. The superintendent there encouraged the district to sign on to a lawsuit involving districts nationwide after hearing too many stories. Too many students dealing with the aftermath of vaping. But how often do districts join forces for litigation? Anusha Roy went looking for some perspective.
The problem became so bad, the Boulder Valley superintendent said the district needed to do something.
Over the course of the past several years, we've just seen disturbing trends in teen vaping in our community.
The stories include sneaking into the bathroom to vape, to the remnants of vaping littered on campus.
In the parents that I've engaged with in our community, the stories that they've told is that juuling is easy to hide, that parents were unaware until it was almost too late, and that the impacts on their families and on their kids, on their health.
So Boulder Valley joined 87 other school districts in a federal lawsuit that names Juul and Altria among others involved in the companies.
The goal of the lawsuit is to, number one, to have courts force these companies to stop with their misleading marketing.
How often does a school district get involved with a lawsuit like this in your experience?
We don't do this often, but we're committed to standing up for what is right.
Schools are on the front lines of this vaping catastrophe.
We asked the same question to several other agencies in Colorado. They either didn't know or didn't keep track of districts involved in lawsuits. In a statement, Juul said it's working to earn the trust of society and combat underage use while working to transition adult smokers away from combustible cigarettes. The company also said it reduced its product portfolio and previously had stopped the sale of mint, fruit, and dessert flavored vaping products. It also halted TV, print, and digital product advertising.
We're pleased to see that they're doing something finally to change their conduct. It's certainly not enough.
So we didn't hear back from Altria today, but Juul said that along with other companies, they've submitted an application to the feds. And one of the things that report is doing is comparing the effects of vaping versus your traditional cigarettes. And another thing it's going to be doing also is that it includes information about data-driven measures to address underage use. So I did also want to mention that there are another 45 school districts that have signed on to another lawsuit, this one being done at a state level, Marshall, that was filed outside of Colorado.
Besides the stories that the Boulder County Superintendent hears, how does the county know the level of vaping there and whether or not they should really join this?
Yeah, so actually the Boulder County Health Department got back to us this evening and they said that there was a Healthy Kids Colorado survey. So they took data from over a month and found that the number of kids vaping, when you compare that same month from 2017 to 2019, actually dropped around 5%. But Boulder County pretty much stayed steady in that comparison. The county has also done a couple of things on their own. They raised the age limit for when you can buy tobacco, and they also banned flavored products for vaping as well. They said they're trying to do all of this in combination, Marshall, to try to just discourage kids away from vaping.
And we're going to talk more about this probably early next month when we look over one of the 11 statewide ballot issues that asks if we want to create a tax for vaping. That's for another day. I don't want to get into that just yet. Thanks, Anisha. We're about to do something rare here on Next. Truth test a couple of ads that you're not going to see air in the next half hour. It just goes to show how many ads are on the air right now. Republican Senator Cory Gardner has a few ads with what I'm calling a partial John Candy. Planes and automobiles, no trains.
It was more than just one ride on a corporate jet. It was dozens of jets that John Hickenlooper took, violating ethics laws every time.
False. Gardner could have stopped before saying every time, and he'd have wiggle room. As we've reported in previous truth tests and news coverage, John Hickenlooper was found to have violated the state's ethics laws on 2 trips he took as governor. One involved a plane ride to the commissioning of the USS Colorado on a private jet owned by developer Larry Mizell. The other violation was for benefits he received while at a conference in Italy, including private security and a ride to the airport, which we'll get to in a moment.
He got the maximum possible penalty.
This is true. But the maximum penalty is twice the dollar amount of the benefit received. Hickenlooper was fined $2,750.
Toured Europe illegally in a Maserati.
No. Again, Gardner could have worded this differently and received a different Bitmoji. Hickenlooper rode in a Maserati limo to the airport. Unless the airport was on the other side of Europe from Italy, it wasn't touring.
He sold positions in his office to corporations.
I hate to be a wordsmith, but this again is poor wording. As we mentioned in a previous truth test, an investigation by the Colorado Sun and CBS 4 found that while governor, Hickenlooper's office received donations to fund initiatives and positions in his office. The office of Governor Jared Polis has also received similar donations.
Misused funds to pay his own lawyers.
He used $150,000 in state funds. Misusing them is debatable. Hickenlooper used federal money given to Colorado in 2003 to help following the 2001 recession, money that remained when he took office 8 years later. Since the ethics complaint involved actions Hickenlooper took as governor, taxpayers were going to pay for it no matter which state fund the money came from.
And told the press to cover it up.
No, he didn't say cover it up. But what he said to me in an interview last year isn't necessarily better.
You guys should be protecting me.
We aired that sound hours after Hickenlooper said it to me, and we covered the ethics complaint extensively.
When there
You'll also soon be seeing this political ad for Congressional District 3. It's from Diane Mitch Bush, a Democrat and former state lawmaker from Steamboat Springs. Her opponent is Lauren Boebert, the candidate who upset current Congressman Scott Tipton in the Republican primary. Mitch Bush's ad ends with the word independent highlighted below her name. She's a Democrat. Her campaign spokesman tells me it's to point out that many of her bills as a Colorado state lawmaker were co-sponsored by Republicans. This newest ad does not make that claim at all. By the way, here's the voter registration in Congressional District 3, which is enormous and covers the western slope and wraps around the Pueblo. There are 185,000 Republican voters, 155,000 unaffiliated or sometimes called independent voters, and 130,000 Democrats. That's why being seen as an independent perhaps matters in this district. You have helped raise more than $61,000 in the last 24 hours to help make sure people have enough to eat in a persistently poor part of our state. Food Bank Network of the San Luis Valley runs 15 food banks spread out over rural country the size of Massachusetts. They serve 1 in 4 residents each year in the San Luis Valley, and the money you've raised will go a long way towards that effort. There's still time to contribute if you'd like. Text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491, and we'll send the link for you to donate.
Well, after I gave a couple honks and realized he was either coming at that car or me, figured it might as well been the time to pull out the camera and see what we can get on film.
So you see what happened was, well, this moose. No, hear me out. Oof. And while we're in the mountains, some immediate feedback on a story about firsts. Next.
Denver, you did it again. Another record-breaking September day. Previous record 89. This afternoon out of DIA, we hit 91, so a new record for the books. Downtown enjoying some sunshine, but still a bit of haze going in the far-off distance, and that unfortunately will be back with us tomorrow. Tonight, still mild with mostly clear skies, 40s and 50s out east, and a little cooler up in the mountains. High pressure overall in control of our weather pattern. It keeps us hot, it keeps us dry, and unfortunately, we're going to be watching the winds kicking up as our storm system just to the north keeps the moisture up there, but the strong winds here in Colorado. Red flag warnings extending out into Wyoming with wind gusts as high as 40 miles per hour. I mentioned the heat. We'll be back to the low 90s. Our current record tomorrow, 91, so it looks like a tie. If you're looking for cooler weather, we have Sunday. We'll be back to the 60s next week.
The most Colorado thing we saw today, road rage involving a Coloradan who can't even drive. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Jake was wrapping up some mountain biking yesterday on the Switzerland Trail in Boulder County. When he got back to his car and it looked like someone had keyed it, scratches all over the back left side, he also found a note on his car, but not from the culprit unless the moose's name is Chris. Chris is actually the Good Samaritan who wrote that he was driving by and saw the moose attacking Jake's car. Chris also took some video of the angry moose for proof, which is good for Jake because I'd hate to hear the conversation with a skeptical insurance agent doubting the story.
There's literally scratches pretty much all over the left side, just in little dings and everything. It looks like he almost tried to put his hoof on my hood because it's like a scratch that looks like he put it up there and then pulled it back. And there was a lot of dirt on the hood, and then like on the back of the trunk, like he tried to get on top of it. I don't know.
I gave a couple honks on the horn, try to scare the moose off, but sure enough, that moose reared its head at me, and I tell you what, I didn't want that moose coming my way. So I quickly kind of backed off the horn, and he went back to his business. I was staring at my eye on eye, mano a mano, as I was walking in to get that note. And I had my running shoes on, so I was getting ready to get out of there if I need to. But he was staring at me the whole time while I was placing that note on the car because he knew that Mercedes was his.
Jake says he'll get the damage estimate on Friday. I can't wait to hear what it is. He thinks insurance will cover most of it. And he's lived his entire life in Colorado and is still yet to see a moose in person.
It's just something good from the heart. Let everybody have something.
Where some see a strip of dirt, Michelle Lynch saw an opportunity. It's now a victory garden, and people in Weld County are the winners. Next. A strip of dirt reserved for weeds is now helping an entire community. Michelle Lynch created a unique garden in her backyard in Windsor, which is now feeding her neighborhood and beyond. Photojournalist Corky Scholl takes us to the Victory Garden.
It's just something good from the heart. Let everybody have something. Hi, my name is Michelle Lynch. I live in Windsor, Colorado. In World War I and II, they had victory gardens. Basically, plant a little extra and give it to whoever needs it. And we decided, okay. I wound up with a heck of a garden of pumpkins. I've got cucumbers. At one point in time, I had watermelons and zucchini. And as my neighbors come walking by, I give it to them. Yes, it's free. Take it. I'm not going to eat them all. And now that I've got all the pumpkins going, all the kids come and pick your pumpkin. I'll put your name to it. And next week, I think a lot of them are coming to pick them all. Oh, the smiles. Oh, the beautiful smiles. They're just so excited. Oh, they get to pick a pumpkin. Please take it. Please do. Take it. Enjoy it. Enjoy Halloween. Take a pumpkin. Take a zucchini. Take a cucumber. Take a watermelon. Just grow the garden for everybody. Everybody.
I'm suddenly hungry. A message for the man trying to become the first African American to climb all of Colorado's 14ers from the man who already accomplished that feat decades ago. That and your feedback next. An update to a story we brought you yesterday. We enjoyed sharing the journey of Evan Gill. Earlier this year, Evan found hiking as a way to deal with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Evan told us he had researched and couldn't find any stories about any African Americans climbing all 58 14ers in the state, so he wanted to be the first. Well, he can't be the first. We know this because that distinction belongs to Michael Richardson, who reached out to us after the story aired last night to let us know he accomplished this in 1995. He had the newspaper clipping as proof. Michael began climbing when he moved to Colorado in the 70s. He knows of 2 other African-American men who accomplished the feat after he did, but he doesn't want that to stop Evan from working hard to accomplish his goal.
Forge on, definitely, and let people know what you're doing. Connect with as many of the outdoor groups as possible, not only the Black groups, but the Latino groups, the white groups. Get your message out there. The notoriety and attention that these individuals need to draw in other people, because once there's a path and we know someone we can talk to and we feel that we can relate to them, which is a big thing too, being able to relate to somebody, then it opens doors.
Michael says when he was heavy into climbing from the 70s to the 90s, he rarely ever saw another minority on the trail, but he feels like representation has gotten a lot better since then. Hockey preempts us tomorrow. Next time is Monday.